Well, Matt, I appreciate you hopping on the Cameron Brown Show tonight and taking the time out of your day to join us and share some insight into what's going on in the world of the indie pop scene. You just dropped to me one of your shirts. You said this is an old logo, this old design?
Yeah, it's our Gen 2 T-shirt, you could say.
So Gen 2, and I was pointing this out to Matt just a minute ago, but their logo, this looks like Miss Minutes from the Loki show. And
it does. The face is uncanny, yeah.
I absolutely love it. So thank you for the shirt.
For sure, absolutely. No, I appreciate being here. Excited to gab.
Dive into it.
Yeah,
Dive into it.
For sure.
So Matt is launching his band Wilmot is launching their debut album in May.
Correct.
Yep. And your last name is pronounced Vajdic.
Vajdic, yeah. It can get you in trouble if you don't know how to pronounce it. So I appreciate it.
So we got that right. Matt Vajdic, which is Croatian, you said?
Croatian, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Matt Vajdic of Croatian descent.
For sure.
And debut album is coming for Wilmot in May, which is super sick. Mm-hmm. Awesome logo and branding on their old stuff, but the new stuff is even cooler. So we'll be sure to pop some of that in during the episode.
For sure.
Let's dive into this. There's a lot of stuff to cover here.
Let's get to
really excited about it. You mentioned let's start with Croatia first and foremost.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think we even talked about this before at all, but who came over from Croatia? When did your parents get here? When did your grandparents, great-grandparents? How does that work?
Heck yeah, I love this. I did not expect this question off the bat. You got me. Yeah, so I'm a mutt, you could say.
Okay.
I did Ancestry DNA, and I'm like an eighth of a lot of different things. Right. I think essentially my last name is just like what trickled down. We don't really have any connection with Croatia anymore.
So you haven't been back to Croatia?
No, and that's like a couple generations deep.
Got it.
So on my dad's side, my Croatian and European mixed grandpa married a Native American and Mexican lady. So that's already like a lot. And that's just one side. And then the other side of my mom's, it's just a lot of different Europe. So yeah, I think the last name just kind of trickled down through generations. I root for them during the World Cup because it's the last name, but that's about it, if I'm being honest.
Cool.
So
we're all kind of mutts. Well, we are all mutts at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But your last name definitely sticks out.
If you read it, it'll capture your attention.
It absolutely does, which is it's sick. But so great starting point to the show.
100%. Yeah.
family lineage. I'm from somewhere in the upstate of South Carolina, and my family lineage goes back 4 or 5 generations in South Carolina.
Really?
And then it's somewhere Scotland, Ireland, kind of just jumps around from there. So then it spreads out. But we're pretty much South Carolinians through and through for the past
Were you born and raised Charleston?
Spartanburg.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
The upstate of South Carolina.
What's is it IHOP or Denny's? That's
Denny's.
Headquartered. Denny's.
Yep.
Okay.
Denny's headquarters in Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Yep.
Wow, that's good.
You like that? You like that?
That's some Spartanburg knowledge.
I had a roommate from Spartanburg, and that's the one factoid he gave me.
Let's go.
I always drop that.
You said one buddy from Spartanburg?
Yeah.
Well, we should have had NASCAR Hall of Fame, like museum. We should have had the Carolina Panthers training facility.
Yeah.
We should have had a lot of things that ended up not coming to fruition in Spartanburg. Hopefully that changes. They're getting the Spartan Burgers now, so it'll be the Spartan Burgers here at the baseball.
The baseball team, right?
Yep.
That's such a good name.
It is such a good name, but it's also so Spartan. Like it would Spartanburg. We would have a baseball team called the Burgers. Like that would be the Spartanburg minor league baseball team name. But good for them. Good for them. So on to the music scene. Mm-hmm. We were talking about this a little bit before, but when did you really get into music, and when did you realize this is what you wanted to spend all of your creative energy doing?
Yeah, spending all your creative energy doing it. That's a really good way to put it. So growing up, my mom was a pretty accomplished and active musician. She still plays flute with a couple orchestras back in Chicago. So growing up, I was guided into music. I'm not going to say forced, but close.
Yep. You had to have something to do.
Yeah, right. But essentially, she kept throwing instruments at me that I would spend a year with as a kid. And I'd be like, Mom, I don't like this. Like, I want to do something else. So I went from clarinet to piano to oboe to saxophone to guitar. And I just couldn't really stick with one. I think that today has really paid dividends for me for what I'm doing right now. But I did grow up as a band kid. We talked about through high school, I was in band. I was also an athlete. I thought I was more of an athlete than I was a band kid, but I was totally wrong. So I really figured that out after freshman year of college, where I played Division II club lacrosse. So like Division 5, we say.
Okay. Was lacrosse the sport all throughout high school, or did you play other things too?
Yeah, and frankly, I thought that was my thing.
Yeah.
And after 1 year in college, I was like, it's not. And I wasn't playing music, and I felt like I was missing something. So I didn't necessarily want to go back to saxophone, which is what I played all of high school.
Right.
I wanted to do something a little more social, I guess. So that was naturally guitar, and I started playing guitar with a couple buddies. Someone needed to sing. I never did any vocals ever before, and I just kind of filled the role, and we had a little college band for a little bit. And then when COVID hit, I wasn't socializing too much, so I think it really helped me do a deeper dive into music. And yeah, that's kind of how I stumbled into where I am now, where we've had this band, Wilmot. We've been around for a year and a half, so we're still relatively new. But like you said, we're dropping our debut album or EP. It'll be a 4-song little album come May. So yeah, that's the background. Yeah,
super exciting. Mm-hmm. So lacrosse and playing instruments, and so COVID. Let's jump into COVID, because I think that's a huge turning point for a lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of people either made micro adjustments or pivoted, or just decided that they wanted to change their life altogether. So they did something completely different. What were you doing? Let's start here. Where did you go to college again?
University of Dayton in Ohio.
Okay.
Go Flyers.
Got it. Nice. Good shout out there.
Yep.
And when did you graduate?
December of 2019.
Okay.
So a couple months later, I moved here January of 2020.
Got it.
Which was a very interesting time to move somewhere new where I didn't know a single soul. So
well, good on you. I feel like a lot of people do that in Charleston too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that move from Ohio.
True.
Specifically.
I'm from Chicago originally, just to throw it out. So miss me with that shade.
You're not one of those.
I'm kidding.
All right. So, but a lot of people do that, and I feel like a lot of people end up finding their groove in either I've seen it in music or the gym, or just trying to finding a community group of some kind, whether that be in a religious or spiritual organization. But a lot of people find it that way. So, how did you get to know people when you first got here?
Yeah, I think the two paired interesting between moving somewhere new and not having too much to do socially because of COVID.
Yeah.
Where the first, year or two, it all blends together now. I spent a lot of it with myself. I did make a couple buddies through work, and we just go over to their house and jam in their garage, which was perfect during COVID for me. We'd do that and we'd hit the beach. But then coming out of COVID, when things were turning around, well, I had been playing a lot of music. I still didn't have an extensive friend group.
Right.
So really, I leveraged that music to make friends. I started hitting open mics all around town. Cool. I'm not sure if you're familiar with an open mic, but for those who aren't, it's where you show up to a bar and they'll have an open mic night. They allow people to play like three songs. And it's a really good environment because you kind of naturally start conversing with all the other musicians.
Right.
So there was this one golden age of open mics, we say, in Charleston, my little friend group, where I became great friends with this guy from Shreveport, Louisiana, this girl from St. Louis, this guy from Maryland. And now today, a lot of our bands like overlap and open for each other. We promote each other. So that initial phase of open mics, I got super lucky, met a lot of friends, a lot of bandmates, and I just used music pretty much.
Super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And falling on, you didn't do like comedy or anything for open night, did you?
No,
singing,
never.
Right?
Yeah, just sing and play guitar.
The creative type, I feel like had jumps around in their early stages of try to figure things out.
That's
so
interesting.
People often have a lot of crossover, or they try different things. At least
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that with some friends. But for some people, it's karaoke is their way of getting out there and meeting people. That's mine for sure. It's definitely curious. It's not open mic.
I love that.
Don't have the ability to do that.
A little less pressure.
A little less pressure. It's like the 1 a.m. You've had a drink maybe, and you're
liquid courage. You got a backing track. You'll be fine. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
But no, COVID was kind of that time where I also kind of delved into the creative stuff. I've never been super creative, and I was like, I want to start exploring things. So COVID was that period for a lot of different people. But sounds like during that time you met those friends, built those relationships, and it's now turned into what it is today with Wilmot. So were some of those people that you met then now part of the band as well?
Yeah, exactly. They're, and although our band's a 3-piece, our drummer is Jake and our bassist is Connor, my roommate, but there are still a lot of people who are adjacently, involved, where if I come up with an idea, I'll shoot it to my friend Bennett, and he's the first musician I started playing with in Charleston. But yeah, all of us are still, kind of involved in our music or get to hear about it first from other people. So
cool. Yeah. Why indie pop?
That's a great question.
Were there other genres that you started with and then fell into that, or was it always the?
Yeah, I think if you asked me in college what music I would be playing in my band, I probably would have said indie folk or something.
Okay.
Because that's the phase I was in right then. If you asked me in high school, I probably would have said rock and roll or something. I think it's just what I've been listening to the past couple years, and even more so, I'd say I use music as that creative release or escape from the stressors of everyday life. It's really easy to write music when you're sad or when you're down or when you're angry. For me, I kind of made a commitment to myself that since this music is my creative release, I'm going to do it with a really positive vibe as much as I can. Of course, we still have a tear-jerk song here and there.
Right.
But for me, I think it's just healthiest that I'm writing music that's like uplifting for myself or puts me in a good mood.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So would you say, a lot of the music that you are writing now and creating, this is a deep question. Where does it come from though, right? Like what is it, which emotion are you really tying it to? Because you talked about it being uplifting, but where does a lot of your music really, like the good music? Because I'm sure you've created a lot of stuff, but where does the really good stuff come from?
Chasing nostalgia.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's kind of synonymous with our branding too, but I think our music is very youthful, and that's just a theme. I enjoy writing music that makes me feel young, I guess.
Yep.
So I think that's it.
Are you familiar with, so one of my favorite artists as of late is Forrest Frank. Does that ring a bell?
Frank? I don't think so.
He is a religious artist, but Christian artist, but he's also kind of that, I guess it's kind of an indie vibe of sorts. Sure. It's a little mixture of all the above. Anyways, I listened to a couple of your songs earlier, and as I was listening to them, I was like, it's kind of like that vibe. There's like a mixture of different artists I could think of that make, that if combined would make a Wilmot, would make a
For
Matt.
sure.
But who are those artists that have inspired you, and I guess who are your favorite artists currently?
Yeah, I'd say the big three for me would be Still Woozy. He's a little more, he is indie pop, but he's kind of abstract. He's an interesting artist.
Right.
There's Dayglow, who we're similar to, and
Cool.
I draw inspiration from. Goth Babe, and then, who else was I going to say? Probably a little bit of Tame Impala, I will say.
Okay.
But yeah, I think those 3 or 4 really inspire me.
You know, I'm not much of a musician when I frankly have never heard of any of those bands.
Really?
Yeah,
you haven't heard of Tame Impala?
How terrible is that of me? I know.
After this, we're gonna listen to at least one Tame Impala song.
Exactly.
And you'll be like, oh, I know that one.
Most likely that happens all the time where somebody's like, you
100%.
definitely know this. You know who this is.
Yeah.
Like, well, I listened to a bunch of songs, and frankly, I'm the kind of guy that'll go through a random like new playlist or like put it on shuffle on Spotify. I'm like, let me listen to something new, like the New Music Friday. It's like, that's
it's always a great playlist.
That's where you'll find it. It's like always trying to discover new artists, but then I don't necessarily stick with them like I should. I feel like once I find a good song, I'm like, I like that song, I like that genre, but I just keep jumping around.
Yeah, so. I mean, that's a whole topic in and of itself of how music is released these days with singles versus, for our parents, like going to the store, buying an album, having that connection with it top to bottom.
Yep.
Where, now it's just, here's a single, let's get it playlisted, and that's really the driver. So,
well, I also somebody hits it big, Well, she's like Taylor Swift, for example, right? Taylor Swift's obviously blown up on the international stage. I could care less about listening to Taylor Swift personally. I want to find a smaller artist that I connect with and I like. And so I'm not really like do not play a Taylor Swift song around me. That's just me personally. Maybe that's like a stubborn thing, but I really want to connect with like people who are in their like growing phases and like their early stages of really building out. Because I feel like it's more real, and it's kind of like what used to be college football to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Where like these guys weren't playing for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Now they are. It's a little different. But these guys are playing because they love it and they are trying to build something amazing.
Yeah.
So I feel like you've obviously been building this thing for a year and a half now, Wilmot specifically.
Yep.
But just to kind of talk through the growing and maybe the growing pains of a band as well. What have been some of the learning lessons of building your band from the very beginning?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me, the biggest growing pain has been in today's day and age, just the need for social media and content creation. You become a musician because you love writing or playing music, and your first couple months of your project, you're only focused on creating music, and it's really fun, and you're like, oh, like I'm good at this, like I have these songs that are really good, and then you realize, the next 90% of your work when you're putting out a piece of art, whether it's visual or music, is really pushing it and not necessarily advertising it, but promoting it to people, and that is I think in today's day and age, crucial for having a, successful single, album, or EP, whichever way. And it's not for everybody. Right. I think I've gotten a lot more comfortable doing it, but it's a grind. It's totally a grind.
So talking just to the marketing piece of this, so you have social media?
Yes.
Are you also running ads? Are you doing other things as well? Are you planning on doing a lot more of that? What is that strategy, maybe, just to share some value with folks?
Yeah, for sure. So we have run ads. We'll normally run ads around a show to, of course, like drive up ticket sales.
Yep.
Or run ads for releasing a single, which you just, drive people to your page. Cool. Essentially, you're not going to reap any benefits from running ads, reap any financial benefits from running ads on a single, because, for a few people to listen to a song, you don't really get a ton of money, unfortunately. Yep. That's just
like it's getting harder and harder and harder too.
Yeah,
especially with Spotify, it's probably not near
like
as good anymore.
0.003 cents or something per stream. So yeah, you got to get a lot. So we do run ads for releasing music, but we'll also run them for a show to drive more attendance and more ticket sales.
Cool. And how many shows are y'all doing in this year? Soon?
Yeah. So upcoming, we're playing in Charlotte at the Evening Muse, the 7th. So that's this Friday. And then next weekend, we're headlining at Royal American, right down the road. Yeah, that's a great spot to play. We love being there.
You played there a couple times though, right?
Yeah, that's definitely our spot in Charleston. We like it
because it is the spot in Charleston, for the record.
It is, yeah. It's definitely for a band our size and our caliber. I think it's a great place for all the a lot of established indie rock bands play there. A lot of really good up and coming indie rock bands there. I'd say we're still in the up and coming phase, but yeah, I think we're gonna crush it there. We normally get to sell it out and get a lot of the homies there. We have a supportive group, but yeah, I think our music's starting to really click with the entire environment in Charleston. And then after Royal American, we have a show in Chicago, which will be fun because that's where I'm from. So yeah, it'll be our first show in Chicago. So
love it.
Yeah,
it's still gonna be pretty cold in Chicago at that time.
Yeah, it'll also be March Madness tip-off weekend. So
lots of people around.
I'm hoping we don't. It's always interesting scheduling shows because you have to, you schedule a show 6 months in advance, and I'll normally do a good job of checking the date. Like, you wouldn't want to schedule a show the Sunday of the Super Bowl. Right. You know what I mean? But it's so funny how often you schedule it, you check, you're like, okay, cool. And then 2 weeks ahead, you're like, oh no, this is like the SEC championship. Or it's like the night of something else or something prevalent in town. Yep. So we'll take March Madness. I think we can compete against March Madness.
Well,
I think we'll be all
right.
Games,
what time do you play?
9 or 10 ish.
Yeah,
so we'll be all right. people be watching ball all day.
They can bring their phones.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. As long as you pay for a ticket,
Just a bunch of people like this in the crowd, but not filming, just watching their March Madness. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's great. So a lot of that coming up. Back to the marketing side of things.
Oh yeah.
Just to hit on this a little bit more. Which platform are you mainly focused on for posting content? Because TikTok is like the you go viral kind of platform now. Instagram used to be that. Now it's TikTok. Are you doing a little bit of all the above, or are you trying to focus on like just a couple platforms?
Yeah, all the above. I'd say our most consistent is Instagram. Okay. I think I'm just used to Instagram the most, so it's what I use. Like I'll post stories consistently. If I put out a reel, I'll put it on Instagram and on TikTok and maybe YouTube Shorts or something. So I try to stay consistent across the board, but our best landing page is definitely Instagram. I think it's just what I'm used to.
Cool. Yeah, creating content is a beast in of itself. It is,
and I am really lucky. We did just get essentially some help with it, where one of our friends who's super talented, Kelsey McCormick.
Cool.
She runs this marketing agency, and she's kind of joined our team to help give our content a facelift, let's say. So we're actually hanging out all of Wednesday and Thursday afternoon, putting together a lot of content for our single that's dropping on the 14th. So
fantastic. Did she also help with the branding?
No.
Is this all you?
No, I wish.
Because this is even the sticker. I don't know if the camera can see this or not, but this is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's awesome. So
this is great.
The one who actually came up with the cassette tape was my friend in town, Carter Edwards, who's a graphic designer, and she came up with the mascot logo, whatever you want to call it, and it fits us perfectly. Now we're working with an artist out of Florida who did the sticker and these hoodies.
Cool.
But yeah, the little cassette tape guy we like, and
ever evolving.
Yeah, truly. So
I love it. Back to we're going to backtrack to high school, because you said you played a lot of different instruments.
Yep.
And we also kind of talked about how in high school it was kind of lame to be a part of band or orchestra or whatever. I regret that just hate the fact that I did not stick with an instrument, because now trying to pick up something, going back to COVID, I tried to pick up something during COVID, but could not get back into it. So for me, it was getting back into doing karaoke as frequently as possible. Hey,
there you go. There's your creative outlet.
Or just like my musical friends, we'd go over and we'd try to produce something basic, which was fun. So what other instruments aside from guitar and bass, I'm assuming you still play now? What else are you still playing to this day?
Yeah.
Able to play?
Yeah. So I'd say growing up with a mom who threw a lot of different instruments at me, they all stuck in my head to some extent. Where for creating the music I'm creating, it's most helpful to be fluent in guitar, bass, and keys.
Got it.
We have a lot of synthesizers we use in our music, or a lot of keyboards. So I can play the keys and create music with them, which is really good. Same with guitar and bass. The thing I cannot do at all is play drums. Okay. So I normally pull a sample from somewhere and use that, and then I show it to our drummer, Jake, and I'm like, hey, I think it might be something like this. And he'll be like, close, but let's do this instead. And it'll sound way better. So it's enough to get something across the line.
Cool. That was all. It's always been super impressive to me for the musical friends of mine, where I can say, I like the sound of this, or it sounds like this, and I'll like make the noise, and then they'll go and they'll actually produce it or play it on the guitar. And I've got a few friends who do that. And like, that is, I don't get it, because I do not have that talent at all. But when you can hear something and then play it back on a musical instrument, I think that in of itself is one of the biggest skills, the most impressive skills of all. Of all time.
And for producing music, that's kind of what it's all about. Not just creating a melody that you have stuck in your head, but also finding the specific sound and tone that you're looking for. And you can spend a lot of time looking for the right thing, but when you nail it, it feels really good.
You have a producer working with you, or are you producing yourself?
Yeah. So our first single, Oh Boy, I actually accept drums. I fully recorded in my bedroom, which I'm really proud of.
That's awesome.
Because the quality is really good. I mean, I have decent equipment, not top of the line equipment, but it's full bedroom pop song, and it was recorded in a bedroom. So I recorded it, and our friend Ben mixed it. Okay. And now we're working with Corey Campbell, who's a really good producer in town. So the way our process works is I'll create, an entire demo track of me playing keys, bass, guitar, and then some drum samples, and I'll take it to Corey, and we'll kind of tweak it from there. So it's, still kind of my creative process and everything, and then he'll be like, oh, like this synth would actually sound better than the one we're using. So it's a really collaborative, and I think it creates a really good product.
Very cool. What do you do on a day-to-day basis to improve your skill set as it relates to music? Is this an everyday thing for you, or is this like you practice one day a week and then you perform on a Friday?
No, that's a great question, and I think I'm probably in a situation that a lot of musicians in my phase of musicianship are, where we do have this original project called Wilmot that, we're putting out this EP, and I hope we can conquer the world with it. Yep. But up till that point, it is nice to have another music outlet. So right now, we actually play a couple cover gigs around town that the other catch is, unfortunately, just the way it is, for the level we're at right now, there tends to be more money in a cover show consistently than like a tour, because touring is really expensive. Yeah. So these little cover shows is another outlet where I think what's very important for me, it helps me stay super fresh vocally, because I'm at least once a week singing for 3 hours. So that's another way to kind of flex my musical muscles, right, while also being able to fund the project by picking up some cover gigs. So it's a bit of a balance.
Right. Do you perform, y'all do weddings as well? Have you done a wedding yet?
We have done weddings. Okay.
Would you do more weddings?
I smile and laugh at that, because we've always done them for friends, where if a friend asks you to play their wedding, I mean, that's so special. Yeah. So of course we've said yes. And then you realize like, oh, this is actually kind of going to be a lot of work. So we've done some for friends. We said we're probably not going to do any anymore, because that's not really the genre or the route we want to go. Yep. But if one of my best friends was like, hey, could you and the fellas play our wedding? I'd be like, yes.
So it seems like, so for example, Midnight City Band has become like that go-to like band for the bars, but also the weddings and the other stuff, the cover band of Charleston.
Yeah, big
right?
time.
And they have some of their own singles too, I believe. But I just know them as like the cover band. So what you're trying to accomplish is not to be the cover band. You want to be Wilmot instead of the cover band.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I think it's a really tricky road to avenue avenue to go when you're doing both. Yep. Where when we play, our residency gigs, right, which is you're playing a restaurant and getting, paid every week, we don't mention our band Wilmot at all or anything, just because we don't want to confuse people.
Got it.
So yeah, we keep that fully separately, but it is kind of the sneaky funding behind our music
gotta
project.
Have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta have it. And I say that's the unfortunate part, but it's just that's a part of it. So, most musicians, all musicians in the early stages are doing something else while they are also performing. What else do you do? Can we talk about that?
Yeah. There is a 9 to 5. Cool. All three of us in the band have 9 to 5s. Okay. So it is, it's a grind for sure. But I'm actually a stormwater engineer for a company, and I work fully remote from Charleston, which is really nice. But yeah, the nerdy stormwater engineering is the 9 to 5. So the creative outlet with Wilmot is very nice.
But you work remote in stormwater. So where's the company based out of?
Boston.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's stormwater all over the place?
Yeah, and I'm southeast based for the most part.
There's a huge need for that.
I know,
Lots of stormwater down here.
If you ever want to get bullied, go up to someone in Charleston and say you manage stormwater for a living, and they're like, what the heck are you doing? Like, why do we flood every week? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think I think some people would realize and recognize how cool that is, but also considering there is so much stormwater and there's such a huge need for somebody to be able to manage it. Now, do we have a lot, and what would we like for it to be managed better? Yes. Yeah. But great job security.
Yeah,
if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Right, yeah. It's no, I like it. I enjoy it's you get to be pretty connected with the environment doing stormwater management. So I enjoy it. It's fulfilling. It's a job where I can, go to sleep at night and be like, I think I did a good thing today. So
saved lives.
Yeah.
Literally.
Honestly, yeah. And saved fish and aquatic life too,
All the above.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's one of the pieces that people disconnect oftentimes. They think of, oh, this person's super musically talented, other stuff's amazing, but they don't ever consider what else they have to do in order to support that creative outlet and to get to where they are. So, I mean, it's been since college to now for you, and you've been creative your entire life, but the past year and a half of supporting a band and really growing a band and getting off the ground, you can't just do that all the time. Not most people. Most people can't. So understanding that story is huge, and it's a huge part of y'all's story as well.
Yeah, big time. And to have the band and then also hold your 9 to 5, sacrifices have to be made. Where sometimes I'll look at the week and I'm like, oh, I've gone on or my watch will be like, dude, you need to move, or I've only worked out once or twice, or frankly, you have to make sometimes a lot of social sacrifices to sneak in a band practice or go play a show out of town. But I think it'll all be worth it. It's just kind of a head down grind phase right now to keep going.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
What's the long-term vision for the band? You mentioned taking over the world, I think, earlier with the EP, with everything else, but what is the real long-term goal?
I mean, headline Bonnaroo, right?
Let's go.
But yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I don't think I spend a ton of time pondering the long term, just because for me, this project is very satisfying in the short term of just being able day to day do something that fulfills me, gives me this creative release, and then also get to see it grow and go play music for people and share my art with people.
Right.
So I don't even know if there's necessarily a long-term vision for me right now with it. I do think a lot of it could be determined by how well the EP does and how well this, some of this early touring we're doing does as well, where, if it's really successful and the EP gets playlisted on a lot of Spotify playlists, ooh, that's good. Maybe we have to commit to this harder. If it flops, then, maybe you have to reevaluate things. But I think for me, I get so much satisfaction out of it on a day-to-day basis. I don't look too far ahead.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a great answer. A lot of people are like, well, I want to do this, I want to headline Bonnaroo, which would be sick.
Well, yeah,
of course.
Sure. Yeah.
But also, you got to get to the next day. You just got to keep going.
Yeah, and we have goals, but I guess the thing about music, it's so, the ladder's so clear to climb, where right now we're playing, 350 person venues. Yeah. Well, next you want to play 500, then you want to play 800. So it's really clear the steps, and everything's so automatically measured by your Spotify monthly listeners, your Instagram followers, where I think it's just about, for us right now, consistently upping all of those levels.
I don't really know how this works at your stage, but at what point do you bring in an agent or a manager? When does that take place?
Yeah, for us, just being on the 9 to 5 grind and also doing this, we've had some help recently join the team.
Cool.
We've had someone from Charlotte helping us with booking shows, which is just a beast to have to do sometimes. And then we've added Kelsey for, content creation, and some other essentially managerial type roles. So I think that'll help us kind of expedite this growth and frankly take a load off of my back right now, which will, allow me to focus on the music, which will be nice. So.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm sure your favorite part of this is playing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just a part of it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fun when I edit a social media video and it turns out good and I'm proud of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I want to spend as much time as I can with the music,
Mm-hmm. I totally get it. Music for you is obviously your creative outlet, but also for so many people, music is their way of calming down, connecting, feeling uplifted, etc. You talked about this being uplifting music earlier too. And I always think whenever I'm in a certain mood, I'm trying to connect with music. The right kind of music for that mood.
Yeah.
And I've found that sometimes that's difficult. I'll go through different genres just to try to find the right genre for me in that particular mood.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to get, and I kind of asked this earlier, but are you trying to get all of your music to be the same mood, related? Are you trying to fit within a certain mood as well, that uplifting mood for all of your music? Or are you thinking you'll kind of diversify
Yeah, I think we have some themes through our whole music.
That's the word. There's some themes.
Yeah, for sure. I think as a mood, I do want to prioritize just like positivity in general, as tacky as it sounds. Of course, we have a few slower, I wouldn't necessarily call them sad, but someone might be like, oh, that's a sad song, maybe a little bittersweet.
Well, anything nostalgic is
there's that little hint of bittersweet. Yeah.
Correct.
I think one of my favorite things to do with, if I'm inspired to write about a topic that makes me sad,
right,
what I'll do, I love songs like this, and they're so common, but when an artist will put out like a bop of a song that's like so like upbeat and dancey, and then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, wait, what? You know what I mean?
This is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like depressing, but it sounds uplifting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think if I do have to write, like inspired to write about a sad topic, that's kind of the way I get it out. So
so you mentioned nostalgia though. Have the songs, some of the ones you're going to release too, do any of them have to do with like relationships?
Yeah, so I also didn't even mention this yet. We're releasing a single on the 14th to like pair with the show.
Cool.
But yeah, that one is about a relationship. A lot of them are relationship based, honestly.
Got it. The ones that I listened to earlier, I was like, I'm kind of getting a relationship vibe here.
Yeah.
We're just gonna ask.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, so. Those two are both relationship oriented songs.
Cool.
Too.
Is in the nostalgia for you? Do you like to? I mean, is there a lot of like back home stuff? Is it upbringing stuff as well? Is it some of that also mixed in?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely back home. This is funny. So my parents just documented our entire like home video series on a flash drive and gave me one of them, and I plugged it in and I was like scrolling through it, and I feel like I have so much inspiration just from watching all these home videos of stuff to write about like being a kid. It just like transported me back to the early thousands, and I was like, wow, that's special. So yeah, a lot of it's really nostalgic oriented.
It is really special, but also the time we still had VHS and other things.
There's something about the quality. It's my mom's like crappy whatever camera recorder, but there's something about like that grain and like the little flickers on the screen that's just it feels so right.
And then you realize, I'm in my late 20s now.
Yeah.
And where did the time go? That's been the biggest thing for me as of late, is just thinking like, where did the time really go? Like what happens to time?
Yeah.
And not that we need to go that deep on this part of the podcast, but like the aspect of time passing and just being gone, and then things happened, and then they're gone, and then you're on to the next phase of your life. And I did like your response earlier when I asked, what's the vision? You were talking about, just kind of being in the present. And
yeah, which is hard, and I mean that's hypocritical of me to say because I really
am,
though, right?
Man.
Yeah,
so tough. But when you're thinking about the past and you're thinking about where you've been, and you think, but you're also like, I'm proud of what I've grown into, but also there's a lot of things I still want to accomplish.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But I think being present is such a huge. It's very important to try to be as present as possible.
Yeah, and when we hit 2025, I naturally reflected on the year, and I was like, wow, like 2024 was such an efficient year. Like my band put out our first couple songs, we played some really cool shows, and then I was like, yes, like good, like the engineer in me was like efficient year, like success check.
Yeah.
And then I was like, did I enjoy it? Did I like let it sink in? Did I really grab it? And I think for 2025, yes, I want to be in the moment, but I need to enjoy it. I need to really recognize how lucky I am and how much fun I'm having in these moments.
Yeah.
So.
And sitting in it is such a weird, like emotional thing that a lot of people, a lot of guys don't like to talk about, like sitting in it and feeling it and appreciating it. I think that's super important for anybody that has big goals and aspirations and dreams and is actually building something. And I mentioned this on another podcast with some friends that we just did the other day, but David Goggins refers to the cookie jar, and like going back into your cookie jar, like write down those things or think about those things that you've accomplished, put them in the cookie jar, and then from time to time go and pull them out.
That's an awesome idea.
And I was like, I need to start doing that.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Seriously.
Because if you were your 8-year-old or 10-year-old self looking at you now, what would that younger self really say and think about you? It's like, damn, like you've done some things. Like, congrats. Whereas like and when you're sitting in your feels now, you're like, feels like I haven't done much of anything this past year. Feels like it hasn't been super successful. You have to go back and find and pull out and say, hey, I have accomplished these things. I have done this stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, I will say that's one good thing our band does. Connor, our bassist, and my roommate and I the other day, we got offered a really cool opportunity where we were like, dude, like, could you imagine a year and a half ago if we were like, hey, you're gonna get offered this gig by these people? We'd be like there's no way. And to think of how proud 2 years ago us would have been, or how impressed we would have been for seeing our show or something. Yeah, I think it's a really good measure to measure yourself from like your inner kid vision to see how cool.
Which does not mean stop and don't continue producing. It just means appreciate what you've experienced.
Yeah.
And the journey you've been on.
100%.
Because we were all on a different journey. That's for sure. But yeah, had I thought, I didn't think I was going to start a podcast 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
We actually started it, and here we are.
And now, come on, you got these awesome. I mean, you got the whole awesome setup. You got the internet. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, so we get out of that emotional state. No, but no, seriously, I think it's super important for people to do, and people don't talk about it enough. It's like just appreciate the things you've accomplished.
Yeah,
and then keep driving forward, but at least take the time to sit in it.
And it's hard to. Yeah, I mean, it's also like you get an accomplishment, and it's so easy to be like, okay, next. Like, let's attack the next thing. But yeah, I think for me the time I most appreciate it is, you normally get out of shows pretty late, especially like after Royal. We'll get home at like 3 a.m. And my favorite time to appreciate it's like pack up all our equipment. I'll go sit outside at 3:34. I'm like, dang, like everything's quiet. No one's like texting you. You don't have to interact with anyone. It's just like we did that tonight. So
we crushed it.
Finding that silence for me, I think, is really important.
I've never been an early morning individual. I'm trying to get better about waking up super early because you do find that silence in that time.
Yeah, honestly,
early on, and I know that's why people do it. Mm-hmm. But I just gotten further and further away from like waking up super early. But I am trying to get back into a groove of waking up much earlier so I can find that silence early on in the morning.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where I used to be like 6 a.m. workout and then have at least an hour before the workday starts. But now I just kind of get right into things. And I think that silence is really mentally healthy for me.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. How do you, with like the alcohol and the drugs, let's put it out there, and all the other stuff that goes on late at night at like parties and concerts and all that stuff, how do you keep yourself sane around that scene, especially at 1 o'clock in the morning? And I feel like some people do a really good job with it. Other people struggle with it. But what's your kind of take on all that?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been like a substance guy of means, but I think for me, I'm always gonna want to deliver our best show where we're normally playing really late.
Yep.
So frankly, I can't be intoxicated necessarily.
But you said you don't drink energy drinks. So what do you like?
I'm
just saying, is there like something you do to get locked in at that time?
I've actually been messing around with that. Okay. And I still think I'm trying to find my groove. Even though I do perform stuff, I definitely get huge performance anxiety sometimes. Really randomly. Sometimes, we'll have a big show. I'll be like, whatever, like we're going to crush this. This will be sweet. Sometimes for a show that I shouldn't be super nervous over, I'm like freaking out on the verge of panic attack. And I've been experimenting really just between kind of like shutting myself off from people and, going to a green room or going to a quiet corner and just kind of like staying there, or B, kind of internally act like I'm not playing a show, go socialize with my friends, go hang out with people. And honestly, I think what I've found is if I go route B, I'm normally a little less stressed before playing or performing. So
like just connecting with the crowd before you then present in front of the crowd or play in front of the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think maybe it drives the connection a little bit more. It just takes some of the pressure off. But yeah, it's definitely a mental game. And then, I mean, you load in your equipment for a show at like 7 p.m. and then you have to wait till, sometimes 11 o'clock to play.
Yep.
So you're just kind of like the whole day like, okay, like of the show. And it can kind of eat at you a little bit. Not that we're playing like credit one or anything, but still, it's just kind of like a lot of anticipation.
Here soon.
Yeah.
That'll be a part of the cookie jar in like 5 years.
Right.
You'll be able to pull that one out and be like, oh, we did that 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. But no, I'll have like a beer playing to just kind of chill.
Yep.
But no, we stay away from most of the bad stuff.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
I think to myself too, if I drink too much energy or too much caffeine, I can't drink too much caffeine, then I will be super jittery. I'm super anxious. I'm not myself. I'm not as connected with anybody or with anything, whether that's a sales conversation or a podcast, etc.
Yeah.
It's like a certain amount of caffeine that I can put in my system before I get super jittery. And then the anxiety sets in. You're like, oh, I'm screwed now. I got to chug water to get back to a good level. So like a beer is probably a good way to just like move through it and be calm.
Yeah. I guess I naturally, being in a music scene where certain things are more common than others.
Yep.
I guess when you said substances, I automatically assumed you were talking
I probably
about,
should have framed that question
about harder stuff. I was like, no, I'll just have like a beer.
How's the cocaine, bro? Well, let's just put it out there.
It's like, nope, we're clean guys. So, okay, I will say I don't do caffeine, but I also don't do caffeine in general. I have like green tea, but our drummer is a Red Bull fanatic, and it gets him the right way before a show. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Some people like really need it.
Oh yeah,
and other people, you're like, dude, you've had way too much caffeine. We need you to tone it back a notch.
Yeah, I think for me, knowing how I respond to caffeine, I think it just make me way worse. I think the good thing for me is like one beer just to chill a little bit.
Well, I'm just with like sleep and like taking magnesium before bed and
for sure
trying CBD or like Delta 8 or like little things like that, just to like calm my mind and to get into a good zone. Yeah, there's everything hits people differently.
Yeah,
so you have to find your thing and stick with it and stay away from the ridiculous stuff. But teach their own. You do you. As long as it helps you get creative, I don't really care.
Right.
But I just think that the creative type is like, oh, let's go do psychedelics and like let's get into a serious creative zone.
Yeah, and for some people that's it, and that's it's totally fine. However you do your music. For me, it's more just turn on like my mood lighting in my room, flick on my lava lamp, and just like kind of vibe
Flicking
and see what comes
lava.
out. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the best purchases I ever got. It creates the vibe so much harder.
How old is that lava lamp?
Actually,
how many do you have?
One. Probably 2 years, and I should have gotten it a lot sooner. I feel like as a 28-year-old buying a lava lamp was kind of like, But no, it sets the vibe so hard in the bedroom.
It's the quarter life crisis kicking in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time for some mood lighting and some lava lamps.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. So what else about yourself do you... So, before that question, we'll follow up with that one. Mm-hmm. For those that are getting into this phase of their life where they're realizing they want to start a band or they want to become an artist or they want to do their creative thing, what's your advice to them?
Oh, man. That is such a good question that I don't think I've been asked.
You can sit on that for a minute if you want to.
No, let me see what comes out. Right? Actually, someone else told me this, and it's interesting, especially as you start playing live music. We have some songs that are more upbeat, more dancey, more party.
Yep.
We have some songs that are slower, that are more chill. When you play a live show, most of the time, people are always going to like the upbeat ones. Don't tailor your music necessarily for a live performance. Like, of course, it's fun to have some songs that go like crazy hard live, but our music is generally a little more chill. It's like a little more like head boppy bouncy, not like hands up in the air necessarily. We have a couple that are like that, but that's not really our
I just love that you say head bouncy boppy.
Yeah, that's kind of us. But I think something good that we've done is that we've stuck to our sound. I think it's as you start playing your music out and you get a lot of energy from these party songs.
Yeah.
I think it is important to just, ask yourself that you're writing your music for you necessarily. So, yeah.
Finding your own groove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or like, if you go on tour and play all the frat parties, they're going to want to hear like your heavy hitter songs.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to like play the music that's true to you and the music you want to write. Like write music for yourself. Because it's a very long-winded way of saying like write the music for yourself. Don't necessarily write it for other people.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that individual come to figure out what's for themselves?
Ooh.
Because or for themselves, if they like a lot of things, how do they figure out what that thing is? Especially for those that may have terrible ADHD or ADD, right? And they're like trying to dial into something that to their vibe. How do you how would they go about finding their groove or finding their vibe?
Yeah, or like finding what kind of style of music.
Correct.
You want okay. I don't know. That's honestly that's a tough question. I'd say
Find yourself first.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Try writing.
Yeah.
If you want to write in different genres, write in different genres. See what feels right. I think at the end of the day, if I wrote a heavy metal song, if I wrote like a jazz tune, and I wrote an indie pop song, one of them would feel more right than the other three. So that's the route I went.
I feel like you do pretty good with jazz as well.
We use jazz chords in our music. My musical theory is that of like a high schooler probably. We'll totally admit that. So we use some jazz chords. We have some jazzy voicings with jazz music. If you were like, oh, go play some John Coltrane or something, I would not be able to. Connor and Jake, the drummer and bassist for us, are pretty good jazz musicians, so it makes my life a lot easier though.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Did I ask this one earlier? Your favorite artist? We already went through your favorite artist list.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your favorite artist though? Maybe probably changed from like when you were a kid.
Yeah.
To now.
Honestly, right now I've been
Aside from
vibing.
Wilmot.
Right? Yeah, Wilmot. I've been vibing super hard with a lot of the indie scene in Australia is unreal right now.
Okay.
There are two bands that I've just been every Saturday playing through our house speakers. The first band's Good Morning. They're very laid back indie rock, I guess.
Okay.
The other band is Royal Otis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They had that cover of Murder on the Dance Floor.
Yep.
That's gone like nuclear.
I've heard of them.
Okay.
So I was also going to ask, this is an aside, but Tosh Sultana, are you a fan?
Oh yeah, I've seen her. She's sick. Yeah, she's so cool. Is she Australian, right? Or New Zealand?
She's Australian, or she's from that area of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I 5 years ago fell in love with her stuff.
From the YouTube video?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I the only one that
So
just like
cool.
absolutely loves this woman?
Yeah.
And no, I fell in love with it, and I was like, this is the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been in love with her stuff for a very long time. But the people coming out of New Zealand, Australia, pretty impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent there. The Royal Otis band I got to see. I spent a month in Prague, which was really fun in November.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah, in November, and I got to see them with the first friend I made over there, and I met her and I was like, hey, like I'm going to this Royal Otis show, and she was like, sure, like we can go, and then we became besties the whole trip. So
That's awesome.
I think Royal Otis is also associated with a lot of positive memories for me, which is why I've been binging them so much. But yeah, they're an awesome band.
Have you always been a big traveler, or is this like a new thing for you, and you're like trying to travel as much as possible? Because you were in Prague for a month, and then you snowboarded recently?
Yeah, I went to Utah recently. I went to Park City for the first time.
Fun.
Yeah, big time. No, I'm like a moderate traveler. I'd say as much as anyone else. I think given the situation of being able to work fully remote that I do, I wanted to take advantage of it.
Yep.
In my company, I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, I've been at this company for 8 months. I want to go work remote, like out of the country. Should I ask them? He was like, no, like that's the worst thing you can do.
Should we edit this piece out?
You're right. Yeah. They're like, that's going to look bad. And I asked my boss, and he was like, Matt, I'll tell you what, if I was in your situation, I'd be doing the exact same thing. Let's make it happen. That's when, you recognize, oh, wow, I landed a great job at a really good company. If my boss is encouraging me to go work from a different country,
100%.
Because like, what a cool life opportunity. So
100%. That's the other thing too, is I know people see stuff online, whether it's being an entrepreneur or an artist or whatever the cool thing is to do, but it is kind of it's super underrated to get a really good job that allows you the ability to do those things, right? And just think like, hey, I'm making the money I need to, while also simultaneously being able to do it. Is it extra work? Yes. Would I love to be doing that full time? Absolutely. But maybe not a bad idea to like keep a job while simultaneously doing your thing until you really figure it out and it starts to work, or until you're really ready to take that leap of faith. Yeah,
100%. And I mean, frankly, I know we talked about covers funding the project, but to get, a band up and running, it's not a cheap adventure necessarily. And having a 9 to 5 or support from somewhere, which some bands are fortunate to have. If
you have a trust fund, that's great.
I wish, right?
That would be the name of my band if I had a trust fund. That'd be trust fund.
Yeah, I feel like you'd have to lean into it. That'd be so cool.
I definitely need a trust fund.
First, just to air that out there. But yeah, it's not necessarily the cheapest thing to. I mean, also we're pursuing a really high quality of production, really high quality of content and shows. So. It's a 9 to 5's kind of necessary to make it happen. So,
well, y'all stuff is sick.
Thanks.
And it's also cool seeing y'all play. Well, you and whoever plays at Ethos too.
On Saturdays. My roommate Connor.
Is it like one Saturday a month or something?
One Saturday a month.
I mean, that's a great. What's great for Ethos too, because you're like, man, this is sick. The gym has a band playing.
Yeah, the only gym in Charleston with live music.
The only gym in Charleston with live music, and y'all do a great job there. And I'm always super impressed with people that have musical talent, because it's just I'm not super musically gifted.
Never too late, man.
Never too late. But I did actually produce a single, for the record,
which
I will share with you offline. That is not.
I want to pull it up right now.
And we'll let you listen to that one. But that was my COVID creation.
What kind of music?
So once again, that's why I asked that question.
You don't even know?
Finding yourself. Like I love everything, man. And I love country. I love country. I love the jazz vibe of things. I'm a huge Frank Sinatra fan.
Hell yeah.
But it's all over the place. But then you also like Tash Sultana. You're like, yeah, fucking I love Tash Sultana. So it's all over the place. So when it comes to finding your vibe or your theme or your mood, I think it's super important to find what really you connect with.
Yeah.
But if you're one of those people that just likes to do it just for fun, which mine's like just for shits and giggles, I'm just doing it because I enjoy it. I enjoy the process. I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's
all matters.
Super important.
Yeah, and you probably created a genre that doesn't exist.
You know what I mean?
That's probably the coolest thing.
I'm like, I have no
Wait,
idea.
well, I actually want to hear more. Like, how'd you make this happen? What'd you record through? Did you go somewhere?
A good friend of mine is a part of a band in Florida now. He was living here. He worked for Boeing. We would meet up in the evenings, and I would sing, and he would produce, and we kind of got into this groove of once a week we would get together and we talk about it back and forth. Started talking about melodies and things, and I was like, man, I don't really know what's going on, but like this is so much fun. Then we actually went into a studio and produced it, and that whole process, once again, I was just like, this is super enjoyable. So we produced the song, and I told him, I was like, hey, we've done all this work together over the past 6 months or so. Let's just do so. Let's just create something. So wrote the lyrics, produced the song, kind of shared it with some people, like some family and friends. I was like, you know what? This was fun. We might put that on the bookshelf for now,
for sure,
and then revisit that later on. But no, I've always enjoyed singing. Not necessarily the best at it, once again, but it's great. Well, much better than I am. I've listened to you perform, brother. You're really good, and everybody can listen to your music too. It's incredible. So, but once again, it's nice to be able to have that creative outlet.
Yeah.
Thing to do.
What was your favorite part and your least favorite part of the recording and producing process? So least favorite part is kind of like practice leading up to Friday Night Lights, which I always refer to things as. Like the amount that went into just getting there, like just to get into the studio. Like you have to write the song, and at the time AI was not as big, and so it was not like I was just using AI to generate everything. Which nowadays I'll do that and I'll just generate stuff for fun, for sure.
Which is not suggested, because you really should connect with what you're creating.
If you try to get naturally, we've experimented with AI writing lyrics. If you try to get like ChatGPT to write the lyrics, it writes the goofiest like we were dancing and the beat was thumping, and like type lyrics, and it's so funny. It is. I would recommend just to like get a giggle out of it, but I think it's probably a good thing that AI lyrics are awful because it would steal so much creativity.
But I think you also, once you find your voice and you can start taking your lyrics and plugging it in, and then it can kind of help guide you and provide you some creativity moving forward. I think that's really the helpful piece of AI, which is a conversation in and of itself. But create your own shit.
Yeah.
That's a moral of the story. But no, I think the practice leading up to it and just getting it created and getting kind of really figuring out the melody and really trying to figure out the genre and the approach, because we were like, well, we can make this into a country song. It's like, no, this is not a country song whatsoever. So we went back and forth on that for a while, and then after about 6 months, we're like, let's just get in the studio, spend the $500, whatever it is, and let's just get it produced. And so once we were done with it, I was like, we could have done this differently. We could have tried different things here and there.
Oh yeah.
But I think the studio part was my favorite part.
Interesting.
And I just loved being in the studio.
Yeah.
I thought that
feels cool.
It feels cool.
Super
Come
cool.
on. I was like, this is my moment. This is my time to shine with me and my friend.
Put the big mixing board on your story. Like, come on.
I don't know what those buttons are, but that's so cool.
Right.
But no, just watching the producer though go through, and I mean with his mixing board and with all the tools and instruments that he had at his disposal, and I was like, man, this stuff has got to be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's really what you're paying for too. It's just access to that equipment.
Absolutely. But I also didn't realize you could just go in and pay somebody $500 and they'll help you mix a song or produce music. That's so cool. And so that experience was fun, and I'd love to go back and do that again at some point. But yeah, favorite part was being in the studio and actually producing. I think least favorite part was the kind of the practice leading up to it.
Yeah, I got you.
I think it's always the practice, right? But you have to do that to get to the studio.
Yeah, so. I'm kind of interestingly, I wouldn't say I have a least favorite part, but the part I'm really always taxing over is like recording in the studio, because there are the music we write. It's a little abstract. It's not too abstract, but there are some like random noises or random guitar part stuff that there's never going to be a right answer for. And it's really hard to make a decision when there's not a right answer. You know what I mean? So for me, the recording process I enjoy it, and like when we have that finished product, it's awesome.
Right.
But all those decisions are so hard with something that's really subjective, you know.
It is very subjective. That's the hardest part. Well, that was one of the hardest parts for me too.
Yeah,
being like,
for sure.
Well, we could do a million different things here.
Yeah.
What's the best thing to do? Where in like business, it's like, well, hire the sales guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like hire the engineer. It's like, and obviously from there's more that goes into it. But yeah, that's fun, interesting. So literally the opposite of mine. But also when you're getting into the studio, you're also spending the time and the money there. And for you as a professional, it is time, energy, effort, money.
Yeah,
instead of just efficient. Like an experience.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And that's, I think for two reasons why I really like writing. You know, I call it a demo track, but essentially it's really far along, and I could release it as the track itself, but having a fully constructed track on my own, one, helps me, save that time, and then it's more fulfilling for me. I take more satisfaction in writing like the whole ensemble than just the lyrics and the guitar part. I like putting like the orchestration together of everything.
Cool. If you could play just one instrument for the rest of your life, what would you play? Yeah,
someone asked me this question yesterday, which is weird.
Well, so you're prepared.
Yeah, I am. Actually, hey, they asked me at Saltwater Cowboys, which is a weird place to get asked that question. But
I was gonna say, was she cute?
No, he was Bennett, and he's 6'4", and he's one of my buddies.
All right, cool.
But he's cute.
Shout out Bennett, bro.
Right. But I was asked what instrument, but also what genre.
Yep.
And man, if I could like lay down some awesome like R&B or jazz piano just like that, I feel like that can carry just more than anything. So I wish I was better at piano.
That's a good one.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, piano's pretty
top
tier.
Yeah.
Piano, and frankly, I think saxophone is one of those that I've thought about a lot.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to take that all back. Bagpipes.
Ooh.
Yeah. I went to an event
for
recently.
one day a year, you'd be like the most popular guy in town.
I went to an event recently, and I listened to the bagpipe. I was like, this is so cool. This is such a cool instrument. But yeah, that's a hard one because you're like, well, this is cool in this situation. This is cool in this situation.
Yeah.
Also, guitar is cool all the time, I guess.
Guitar,
but everybody plays guitar, so not everybody, not me. But
being really cool at bass is sick. Like that's a lot of people won't necessarily notice the bassist. There's like the running joke in the music industry. Like we say to our bassist, off the stage, back in the cage.
Jeez.
There's like running jokes about bassists just not getting any of the limelight. Yep. Where I think that's a crucial instrument. Where if you're at a show and there's a bad bassist, you won't vibe and you won't necessarily know why.
Right.
If you're at a show and there's a really good bassist, you're gonna be like, oh my god, this band's amazing. But you're going to think it's like the guitarist and the singer, where a lot of it's really the bass, just like carrying the bass and the drums.
Well, I'm going to completely butcher this, but it is really what gets your, like, it really like connects your body to the music too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the thumping of sorts.
Yeah, 100%.
That is that deep tone that really gets you pulled into the music.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's the groovy part.
Oh, 100%.
It's the groovy
and
part.
We're lucky we got a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. So I'm sure we could talk for hours about all the above, but we're gonna wrap it up out of respect for your time because I know you got a lot going on.
No, I appreciate it.
What else would you like to share with the people that are listening as it relates to the EP, the band? Yeah, which camera do you want to look
which camera should I look at?
Let's look straight at this one.
Royal American, March 14th. Okay, got that out of the way.
What time was that? Yeah, we're gonna clip that part.
Yeah, so Royal American, March 14th. We'll be headlining, playing with two really talented bands, Sunchild out of Florida, and then Camisole out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Last time we played Royal, it was a hoot and a half. So I expect it to be a crazy fun night. So I'd highly recommend coming. And then we are releasing our next single the same day.
Cool.
So our single called Spaceman will come out the 14th. And there is a pre-save link if you go to our Instagram and our bio. So when you pre-save a song, it helps the band get playlisted or get more streams off the start. So it's really helpful if people do that. So that's my shameless plug. Yeah.
The music.
Right.
Subscribe to all their stuff. Please subscribe to the Cameron Brown Show as well. That'd be great. We're also going to get this out. We don't have a bunch of people following just yet.
Oh.
But we are going to push this thing for you.
Yeah. Hey, this is the lowest stock will ever be for the Cameron Brown Show. So you gotta buy it right now. You gotta buy it right now.
Yeah, we're not issuing shares yet. But hey, in the very near future, we'll be listed on the NAT. Yeah, coming soon too.
That's what I always tell people at the band when we're like, I mean, we have a decent following now, but like I was like, if you follow us, you can tell all your friends you followed us when we're like under 2K Instagram followers, and then in 3 years you can be like, yeah, I knew these guys when they were like
my best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a great way to market it.
Yeah.
Follow us before 2000.
Buy stock low.
There aren't many spots left on it.
No, they're not. They're not.
Well, Matt, I greatly appreciate it, man. Always good seeing you. Thanks for joining the show. Thanks for the insights, all the value that you dropped. This is great. And I'm actually looking forward to Royal American in a couple of days. It's gonna be fun.
I'll have to give you a shout out on the mic.
Heck yeah.
My favorite podcaster has just showed up.
My favorite new podcaster that I followed under 1,000.
Yeah, exactly. Follow him now before it gets cool. So.
Oh, well, I greatly appreciate it, man. And really looking forward to keeping these conversations going offline, and maybe we'll have you come back in the future if you
would
want
love to.
So.
Yeah. Next time we might have to get some of the fellas in here.
Let's do it. We'll do a group would be awesome.
Exactly.
I just got to get more mics and a better interface.
Oh, we can share one. We've shared one multiple times. So yeah, don't worry about it.
If I don't have to buy one, that's awesome.
Yeah. We got mics too. We can bring our own mics.
I was going to say, you got all the equipment.
Yeah, come on.
You can play for us in the corner.
Dude, we could. We totally could.
Do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Damn, that would be sick.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Cameron.